Hey guys, welcome to JPT. I'm Carson G, and this is Just Plain Tech. Welcome to this video that one of my followers recommended that I probably should have done this video a long time ago now that I think about it. Like, this is one of the main things a tech channel should have, and I can't believe I never even thought of it. Anyway, we are doing an Android versus iPhone video today, so stay tuned. Okay, here we have Android, I know it's a bad drawing, versus iPhone. Okay, let's start off with iPhone. Let's go over the pros and the cons. Let's start with the pros, because why not? Alright, you guys might have noticed that iPhones have a nice kind of glossy, flashy user interface. So that is a pretty cool one, from things just looking shiny overall to nice animations when you swipe, which I guess Android also has too. But it's just a little more of a nice user interface, a little nicer than Android's, I gotta admit. And another thing is that a lot of iPhones have better screen resolution than Androids just because they decide to use a glass screen, I guess. The only problem with this is that it could break much easier than the plastic screens that most Android phones use. So, yeah. And, not Android, iPhones are supported for longer. I think Apple announced that they're soon going to drop support for the iPhone 6, which came out in like 2014, so 6 years of support is pretty cool compared to Android's 3 years of support, which 3 years of support might not be enough for some of you, especially if you're like me, where basically you don't like upgrading all the time. You want to get one super OP overpowered machine and then have it last you like 10 good years, and then get a new one. That's how I like to do it. So that 3 years of support from Android might not be awesome, but it kind of depends on you. Another thing I noticed is that iPhones tend to have a better camera resolution than most Android phones. But however, I said most Android phones. There are Android phones out there with better screen resolution than iPhones, so yeah. But overall, most of the time, an iPhone would have a better camera than an Android. Alright, now let's go with the cons of iPhones. Planned obsolescence, which basically means that a couple years after Apple releases one of their iPhones, they will put an update out to it to make it basically not work, and everything stops working to force you to buy a new phone, pretty much. That's something that Android doesn't do, thankfully. But iPhone does it, and it's kind of on people's nerves. Anyway, iPhones are also very closed off. Like, you are pretty much forced to use iTunes, and you like can't switch it's basically really hard to jailbreak it. Like, stuff you'd already be able to do on Android without jailbreaking, you'd have to jailbreak an iPhone to be able to do that. And even if you still jailbreak an iPhone, it won't be able to do as much like customization and options for the user as an Android user would have. So like, you can't replace the App Store with a third-party external App Store like Android users could replace the Google Play Store with external stores such as Aptowide or something like that. So that is kind of annoying. And iPhones are also really expensive compared to Androids. Like, I got my Android phone for literally $15. Yeah, it's a little old, running Android 4.1 Jelly Bean. So I don't know how it might last me a year or two, but still a pretty nice phone, and it's $15. And the cheapest iPhone, the iPhone SE, is literally $400, brand new. Some Android phones sell for $50 or even $100, so that is really, really annoying. Anyway, let's move on to Android. Let's go over some pros. Unlike Apple, Android is open, which, like I said earlier, you can replace your app store, replace default apps. If you don't want to use Gmail and you want to use Thunderbird instead, which I actually do prefer. I'm not sure if you can get Thunderbird on mobile now that I come to think of it. I have never actually tried it. But say you could get Thunderbird on mobile. You could use Thunderbird as your default email app instead of Gmail. In fact, you could actually disable Gmail so that you don't get, basically Gmail doesn't show up. It's still installed, but it doesn't show up on your home screen or your menu or anything. Makes it seem like it's not there, which is really nice. Especially if your phone comes with email and Gmail. I just disable the email one just because it's pointless to have two email clients. But you can do that. It also gives you the nice ability to put MP3 files on your phone. Like, instead of being forced to use iTunes or an app to play your music, well, that is an option. You could put MP3 files onto your iPhone and then use your file browser right from your home menu to browse your SD card and select movies or music. Which brings me to another thing. One, Androids have SD cards, which iPhones don't have SD cards, so you're kind of limited to whatever your iPhone comes with and the cloud. But however, Android, while they usually only come with 4 gigabytes of internal storage or 16 gigabytes of internal storage, not much, you can get an SD card. For example, I have an 8 gigabyte SD card in here, which is not enough. I just happen to have it lying around. I need to get a new one. I need to get at least 32 gigabytes. But there are Android phones out there that will let you have up to 512 megabytes on an SD card, which is pretty darn cool. Although, who really needs that much space on a phone? Anyway, but Androids can also plug into other computers really easily. You can put them in a Windows, a Macintosh, a Linux computer, and even Chromebooks, which iPhones are kind of picky. They might only go with Mac sometimes. But you could easily plug your Android into Windows, Mac, Linux, and even Chromebook without any problem as long as your device is unlocked. You will be able to browse, copy, paste, delete files from your Android on your computer. And it's really nice. And from experience, I've had trouble doing that with iPhones. And I noticed it's so much easier to put my Android phone into my Linux computer. So, yeah. Another big pro, the headphone jack. Why? Why did Apple get rid of their headphone jacks? Why? But they did, and now iPhone users have to suffer from it. But Androids, well, actually, that was kind of an understatement, how Androids have headphone jacks. It depends on your model. Androids have thousands of models you can choose from. You can choose a model to your needs. Like, you can choose low-end, high-end models, a gaming phone, stuff like that. Like, you can choose any model. You can, basically, whatever fits your needs. Some models have headphone jacks, such as mine. Some don't, but most of them do. At least with Android, you have the option to choose, like, the hardware, the hardware you want in your phone. You can choose that when you get an Android. You can also choose the software, as some manufacturers make custom versions of Android and distribute it on their phones, even though sometimes they don't really end up working very well. So I would use the Google version of stock Android. That's just one thing to watch out for. Get stock Android. Don't get a custom version of Android, because most of the time they stink. So just get stock, people. Get stock. But you do have the option to choose your hardware, which is really nice. Another thing is that, again, in general, depends on your model, but in general, Androids are cheap. For example, I got this one for $15. I mean, it was used, but I've seen, like, the Kindle Fire, which is an Android, by the way. Fire OS is based off of Android, so it's basically a custom version of Android by Amazon. Anyway, the Fire Tablet 7, I think, is $50, which is crazy. And it actually works pretty well. I have one myself. I love it. But, yeah, so Android phones are generally cheaper than iPhones. Let's go into something else. Let's go into cons. Sorry. Android only gets 3 years of support, which, only 3 years? We talked about that earlier, though. Another thing is the user interface on Android. While it generally is pretty nice, it's a pretty nice user interface, it isn't as nice, glossy, shiny, and finished as Apple's user interface is. Although I do like it pretty well, I have to admit I like iPhone's user interface a little bit better. But I honestly don't really care. As I said before, you could get custom versions of Android, which they can be a pro in a way. It will let you choose, but they could also be pretty awful, which could be a con. So that kind of goes both ways. A lot of Android phones, again, this depends on your model that you get, but I do notice that Android phones tend to have awful cameras. Some Android phones just, like the Kindle Fire, for example. I know it's technically not an Android phone, it's an Android tablet, but for example, the Kindle Fire's cameras are just, don't even get me started, they're awful. I'm just gonna say that. I have to admit that about the Fire. They're awful, and a lot of other Android phones and tablets have cameras just like it. A 0.3 megapixel camera. Why are we even measuring in megapixels? Ugh. It's really 300 kilopixel camera, and that is awful. But again, you could get a model with a better camera. So, yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. Please make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. We'll see you next time.